Hey friends, it's good to see you. It's Thursday. That means it's time for the Tarot Topic Weekly Newsletter Recap. Tarot Topics newsletter comes into your inbox every Wednesday. If you don't get it, or if you'd like to read this week's edition, there's links right in the description. This week's topic, lessons in optimism. That's what we're going to talk about today, optimism and the argument that you can have optimism as a practice without having it be denial or toxic positivity. And you can still be a realist and be optimistic. And that a practice in optimism is typically fueled by a certain kind of spiritual faith. That's what we're here to talk about. Clearly, you can pretty much make any question fit this topic, right? So we will just take your questions and see how it goes. But Mediha Ness, our whole village extends their compassion and condolences at the passing of your dad. Thanks for sharing that with us, and we are all holding you and your family in healing. All right, let's get on over to Card Cam. For those of you who joined us for Global Tarot Circle last night, I pulled out this deck at the end. It was still here when I got here. So that's what we're using. What is this deck? What is this deck? It is Universal Celtic Tarot, and it's a nice kind of purse pocket size. So fun deck. It's a great deck. So silly me. When I wrote the newsletter, one of the primary examples I used of a lesson in optimism was how my mother was when she received her devastating diagnosis, and it did indeed take her life 3 months later. And I had forgotten I was going to have to come on here and talk about it, right? And so as I'm reading through the comments, as I'm getting ready to come on, I see Melissa saying, thanks for sharing that story. And I'm like, I start like, oh my gosh, am I going to be able to even have this conversation without just like really losing it? So maybe that was poor planning on my part, but I'm glad that you found it helpful. And it did certainly come from my heart. So hang on one second. Hang on, I have to fix something here. Give me a second. Okay, here we go. All right, and Melissa Grosso, thanks so much for being a member for more than 3 years. Can't wait to see you at StaarCon. And you say, thanks for sharing such a poignant story about your mom in the newsletter. Sniff, sniff. While she has gone to church weekly for her entire life, my mom does not have the same depth of faith, which is likely part of her current struggle. I'm trying to support her as best as I can, but she is very downtrodden. What is there to be optimistic about in regards to this situation? I love that question. I mean, I'm sorry you're going through this, and I'm sorry you had to ask that question, but I want everyone to pay attention to that, because that is a smart way to ask of tarot a question about a difficult situation. We know the situation is difficult. What can we be optimistic about? Where can we find hope? That's beautiful. And I'm going to look at it really from a couple of different perspectives, Melissa. One for you, the other for her, maybe some other stuff too. But when we look at her, Three of Swords reversed, Two of Cups, Six of Wands reversed. As much as she is downtrodden, there's a part of her that likes it that way. Like she has completely bought hook, line, and sinker the entire bill of goods that got sold her when she was a child. And she has lived it out to perfection, including the resentment that you're allowed to have when you do that. and she's enjoying it. So the optimism here is to recognize that her demeanor and her behavior is her right. It's what she's earned. It's what she saw her mother, her grandparents, whatever. It's what she saw elders do as well. And so you kind of have to let her have it. It's not your job to cheer her up. It is not your job to get her to look on the bright side of life. And if the priests and the church couldn't do it, you're not going to be able to do it. So to recognize that it's not your job and that she has, to some extent, chosen what she has chosen. And so to some extent, it must be serving her. Now, for you, I think the optimism here is how well you have avoided her fate. And that has had a downside too. But let's be really, really grateful and optimistic about the fact that, Melissa, you made different decisions than she made. You made different decisions than she wanted you to make. And in doing so, you have avoided her fate and have opened yourself up to a much better fate. Can we look at these cards here? We've got the Four of Wands and the Six of Pentacles. Put that together, and what do you have? You have a marriage that is equal exchange and equal support. And that's what you're holding out for appropriately. All right, let me know what you think. All right. So, Ness, Mediha Ness, thanks for being here. Thanks for being a member for more than 2 years. It's hopeful in a way to think he's at peace now. We lost my dad on Monday. It's hopeful in a way to think he's in peace now. In general, I have a feeling in me that things will be okay. What is the fine line for me between toxic positivity and optimism? Where do I need to be realistic and optimism for the next year? And this will be very personal for you, Ness. So, I think all of us, some of us will have more of a tendency toward toxic positivity than others. And so if this resonates for you and you're not, Ness, go ahead and take it. But if it doesn't resonate for you, this is going to be very specific to Mediha Ness, because it is such a personal thing. That fine line between toxic positivity and optimism, man. Okay, so for you, Ness, here's how I'm going to try to play with this. So this is an interesting techniques lesson as well. So toxic positivity for you, Wheel of Fortune reversed. For you, toxic positivity is when you're okay, no bad thing will happen. Everything will be perfect. And we know that's not the case. The other side of that for you is when bad things happen, sometimes you will sort of feel like, oh my gosh, why is God sitting there at his computer with the smite button? What have I done to deserve this? Feeling like in some way, the universe, spirit, whatever, is ganging up on you. And that's sort of right. The sky is falling, as Wendy says. And so that's the other side of that. So toxic positivity leads you to this place of spiritual paranoia, of feeling like maybe the universe really is out to get you. And I don't think you really believe that, but I think in certain moods, it can feel that way. Now, optimism. The Eight of Pentacles. So here's the thing. Here's how optimism comes to you. You're going to have a good life because you're going to make it so. Because you're going to learn what you need to learn. You're going to do what you need to do. You're going to create what you need to create. You're going to perfect what you need to perfect. And you have historical data that tells you that you're capable to do this because guess what? You're still here. And so your optimism is not based on the idea that no bad thing will happen, because we all know, well, this is planet Earth. Any bad thing can happen to anyone at any time. But Your optimism is based on your skill, your knowledge, your grounding, your practices. These are the things that hold you in good stead and can allow you to be optimistic. And if I may, Ness, you didn't ask for this, but just a card for your dad on the other side now. The Page of Wands reversed. He has not yet learned how to communicate, but he will. He's working on it. He's working on it, and he's really enjoying, like, not being in his old body. That's good for him. And when we look at your parents, or not your parents, but your family, because your mother, I believe, is living, so I believe she's now widowed. So when we look at your family, and, you know, and you're separated by many, many miles from your home country and from your family. Ness, it's good to see you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And I see you're communicating with me, so I'm going to hang out with you and see what else you have to say. So looking at your family who remains in your home country, Page of Pentacles reversed. I think they're all a little lost. Ace of Pentacles reversed. I think your dad was sort of a grounding factor, but with the Four of Swords reversed, there is also relief. There is relief. There is an understanding that this was the right time. There is no one saying, like, you know, like, we wish it wasn't this way, and we're all a little lost about what comes next. But there's an understanding that this was the right time. And beyond that, Ness, just when we look at what it is for you to be, you know, on the other side of the world from this, the Magician reverse, that's really hard. That's really, really hard. I don't know if you're able to travel. But if you cannot, you need that connection. Like, you need to be able to FaceTime or Zoom or something and really connect with your family quite a bit during this time. For everybody. I think that's what everybody needs. It was over 2 years of him being sick. Parents were divorced for like 25 years, but my mom took care of him for the past 6 months. Got it. Got it. Which is a whole story in and of itself, I am sure. So there is ungrounding, but there is also a sense of relief and knowledge that this is the right thing in the right time. So let me know if you have further questions there, Ness. And now I will come back to you, you know, if you have other questions or anything there, I'm happy to handle it. Seriously. All right. Jeannie Mnuchin, so good to see you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being a member for more than 3 years. My mind is whirling with the wildfires in California. Just spoke to my daughter, who seems to be safe-ish. The change in the country direction, and still trying to get grounded after California. You were just there before the fires. Glad that you were there before the fires. My question is, I'm running out of time for sponsors before launching publicity for the spring shows. Is there a positive message about getting more funds through sponsors, or should I move on? Okay. Should you be working on sponsors or move on? I think you move on. I think it's time to move on. I think it's time to move on. And if sponsors come late, they come late, and you acknowledge them in a different way. But you need to get this other stuff done. Do I think you will have some late edition sponsors? Maybe, but you can't wait. You can't wait. You got to fly. Okay. Oh, I am just jumping ahead for one moment because this happened to catch my eye. Joyous Ocean, Dion, so good to see you. For the members that were on the live last night, thank you for everyone who came to Global Tarot Circle. I have heat again, but the repair people did have to come and replace a part. So the home is finally up to 60 degrees indoors while it is 24 degrees outdoors. I am so sorry, man. You know, it's cold here in Florida this week. Like, we're in danger of being hit in the head by falling iguanas at this moment. And I don't like it. Our heat is on. We live in an apartment that has heat, which is not a guarantee in Florida. Our heat is on for the first time ever. It smelled really nasty when we had to turn it on this morning. But, you know, and I will bitch and moan all day long about this cold snap here in Florida. But honestly, I got no right to bitch. I am so sorry, Dion. I remember those days. I lived through those days. I lived up north. I know how hard that is, and I am so sorry. I'm so sorry you're dealing with that. I am glad the heat is finally up to 60 degrees, but what a journey. Oh my gosh, I know how bad that feels, and I'm so sorry. All right. Right, Trey, we're so lucky to live in warm climates. You know, and when I moved to Florida, it had a very different leadership than it does now. I'll say that. But I still feel lucky to have the weather that I have. So, yeah. Von Ray, haven't seen an iguana since I left South Florida. I kind of miss them. Maybe you will see them when you come to StaarCon. Trey, I still love my peeps in Florida. Well, we love you too. All right. I agree. Florida is a great state. It is the only state in the contiguous United States that has subtropical weather and subtropical flora and fauna. It's a cool thing. Okay. So, Gemini Sun, here we go. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being a member. Well, thanks for being a moderator. We really appreciate you. Have I been on the right track with my mindset lately of finding the sweet spot of optimism and being a realist and avoiding toxic positivity? Any advice to continue to improve? Right. That is such an interesting sweet spot, right? Four of Cups, I think you're getting better to not attaching to bullshit. And I think your biggest problem has been that you have been seduced by bullshit in the past. And that's caused you, that seduction has caused you to be optimistic about things you shouldn't have been optimistic about. I think you're undoing that beautifully and you're finding your right balance. It's a beautiful thing. All right. Ness, we moved to Florida in my dream the other day. You should. That would be so fun. But the sky and coast look like the Oregon coast. That's funny. All right, Jolie James, good to see you. So, Jolie, do you want to are you here? And do you want to put a question in? I'm happy to do cards around optimism for you. But if you are here and have a more specific question about something to be optimistic about, or you are here, good. I'm happy to just pull some cards on the topic, but I did want to give you a minute if you had a more specific question around something you're not feeling optimistic about and need perspective on, or something you are feeling optimistic about and need perspective on, or your own relationship with optimism or anything like that. If you've got anything specific, cards on the topic are good. I got it. Can do. So, Jolie, when I look at sort of your relationship with optimism, Seven of Wands reversed. You are optimistic as long as you have supportive people around you. You are optimistic as long as you feel like you are in balance and as long as you are trusting yourself and have good people around you. You lose your optimism when that gets thrown out of balance. You feel unsupported by people, you're not trusting yourself, you lose your optimism. And so here's the thing, and this is true for a lot of us. Your optimism is based, and this is not this is a smart thing. Your optimism is based on your capacity to handle stuff. So when you feel like you have capacity to handle stuff, you're optimistic. Bring it on, I'll take care of it. And yes, when things get muddy, I start to lose hope. And the reason, Jolie, I believe is because you forget your own faith and trust in yourself and your ability to handle whatever it is. So as long as you keep faith in yourself, you can be optimistic. And that's what you have to ground yourself into, is faith in yourself. Good. Julie's like, yes, that is spot on. Good, 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 good. All right. Hey, Wendy Robeson, it is so good to see you. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you. I'm carefully scrolling. Julie James, you're absolutely right. I forget my own power and faith. I feel seen. Yeah, there it is. Absolutely. Thanks for that feedback. Okay, so Wendy Robeson, I was able to scroll without losing you. Yay, yay me. All right. Hey, Melly, thanks so much for your kind words, and thanks for subscribing. Today we're talking about optimism. Feel free to ask a question that somehow connects to the topic of optimism that feels like an easy, like you could pretty much ask about anything. Okay, here we go. Wendy Robeson, thank you for being a member for more than 2 years. Thanks for being a moderator. This season, I've been on track to stay positive and not letting the winter blues come flooding in. There is a key element to this that I can't quite put my finger on. Can you tell me what has made this happen and how to keep the positivity flowing? Oh, and there's a squirrel in your camper and you're not sure how to get her out. Does anyone have experience with squirrels and have any advice on how to humanely and safely rid a camper of a squirrel? Go ahead and put that in, because that's outside. I've had squirrels and I've had campers, but never together. So that's outside of my area of expertise. But I love your question. And Wendy had asked, Ness, a humane cage could work. Yeah. So Wendy has asked a really smart question. Like, Wendy has gotten into a positive mindset and is able to hang on to that positive mindset, even though usually by now in the season with seasonal depression, she has not been able to. So this year she's doing it differently. She's doing it better, but she doesn't know how or why. She wants to know how or why because she can keep doing it. What a smart question and what a great use of tarot. So now I have to do a great reading to go along with that great question. Oh, Trey, I did not hear that story. That would make me sad. Okay. So what made this happen? 5 of Wands reversed. You stopped fighting with yourself. You had been at war with yourself for a while. You had been at war with in your head, you had been at war with people who aren't even in your life anymore. You have been at war. And you're no longer in that conflict. Like, you allowed yourself to move on. You allowed yourself to put closure to the past. You allowed yourself to recognize that people from the past, like, someone was full of shit, right? And you had been like, is it me? Am I full of shit? And that was what was getting you stuck. And then you add the seasonal depression in, that was getting you stuck. So now that you're like, yeah, no, that wasn't me. That's all on them. That's all on them. And they can call me up and they can reach out and I can have memories and all of that. But it's all them, not me. And I think that's the difference. And Wendy says, yeah, oh my gosh, you're right. Yeah, that's the difference right there. And so you just keep that and you keep this. And there are some advices in the comments about catching the squirrel, catching the squirrel and seasonal depression. So enjoy all of that. Thank you everyone for participating. We are indeed a village. All right. Smile Soul 20, so good to see you. Thanks for being a member. Liz Harrison, thanks for being a member. Glad you liked the newsletter. Caroline McLaughlin, good to see you. Thanks for being a member. Next question, I see Barbie Bird. Good to see you. Thanks for being a member for more than a year. I am often thought of as optimistic, but I do think of myself as a realist. But in my dating life, being real is making me depressed. I had a rough night. Can I ask a twofer? Of course. How can I remain optimistic in the swampy dating pool? It does feel so, no, it's not off topic at all, man. I get it. Man, I think we have to admit that, like, it's something that we're talking about in our culture, that young men in our culture are really struggling, and that makes it hard for young heterosexual women. It's a truth. I'm sorry, but it is. Okay. How can I remain optimistic in the swampy dating pool? And why did M ghost me, and why is he such an ass? Okay, here we go. Barbie Bird, I really wish I could choose my sexuality. Okay, as a person who has had significant experience dating all genders, I can tell you that people are people. And yes, there are some things that might be specific to men or specific to women. But once you get into a relationship with someone, they're either a narcissist or they're not. And they're either compatible or they're not. And they're either an addict or they're not. And gender does not have a whole lot to do with it. So there it is. Right, Barbie Bird. That's true. I'm just sad. Yeah, no, yeah. There it is. There it is. And I understand. Wendy's like, yes, very true. Right? Right? All right. Basically, gender does not create or deny the propensity for bad behavior. Let's put it that way. Oh my gosh. Oh, Jolie James, or right, Beyonce's If I Were a Boy. I love that. Or Taylor Swift's The Man is a good one too, right? Barbie Bird, if another man tells me sorry without any other words, I'm jumping into the ocean. Right. But why are they doing that? They're doing that because they don't have the words. They're doing that because they were not taught how to communicate. Right? So don't take, I mean, it's bad behavior, but don't take it personally. Now, why did M ghost you? Well, first of all, let's back up. Who is M? Let's really play with this. Let's really play with this. I think M may have come on really strong as this King of Cups. Oh yeah, and I'm going to tell you about it. I think he may have come on really strong, really sweet, and got your hopes up in the beginning. Right, really strong in this King of Cups way, like, ooh. But then I think he created a lot of doubt. And so, like, the advertising was much, much better than the delivery. Much, much better. Let's do this. Let's do that. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Love bombed. Yeah, yeah, I think you're right. That feels a lot like narcissistic love bombing to me. Now, why was he doing that? I think he is a very anxious person. You know, whether or not he's a narcissist, I'm not going there. There's nothing that has come up that says that. But there is something that comes up that says he's a very conflicted individual, and he's a very anxious individual, and he's kind of afraid of women, and he's kind of afraid of emotions. And he's got money. Okay. Now, how was he feeling about you? I mean, at first he felt a connection for real, but then he got scared. So why did he get scared? You know, I think it has to do with his bros. Does he have a bunch of bros? I feel like There may have been some bro energy encouraging him to be more of a dick, and he doesn't want to be a dick to you or something like that. And I feel like he recognizes you want, he understands what you want. Marion K. Taro, so good to see you. I think he understands what you want and does not have the emotional range to be able to say, I can't give you what you want. I think you're awesome, but this is not going to work. And so he didn't have the ability to do that. So he's just like, sorry. And that just tells us why he wasn't right for you. But now, going back to that first question about the swamp from which he came, and recognizing there's a lot of other swamp monsters, you let him have it. Good. And might even heckle him next time I see him do comedy. I don't know if you want to do that. But I do think, and you had mentioned that you sent an email that you or a text or something that you weren't sure you should have. And I think you were right. I think it's fine to call people out on their shit. I really do. And you know who I learned that from? I learned that recently from Taylor Swift. So, we're always learning and growing, aren't we? So the thing is, Barbie, you did make him squirm. That's the thing. You already did make him squirm. Yes, most stand-ups have some issues. You're right, Trey. You're right. You did nothing wrong and he sucks. Right. I think you're not wrong about that, Trey, at all. Yeah, Barbie, we all do have our own issues. Now, as far as the dating in the swamp for Barbie Bird, I think the thing that happens when we get hopeful early on and then our hopes are dashed, when that happens, we blame ourselves. I should not have been hopeful. I should not have allowed myself to hope. So now we're bad. And I think, Barbie, in dating, it's okay. On some level, you don't want to be hopeful early. I don't care what they have to offer. You don't want to be that hopeful. You want to be like, okay, like you're just grocery shopping, right? Like check bread, check broccoli, check cheese. You're just grocery shopping. And because it's a needle in a haystack, and most of them are hay, and some of them will love bomb you, and some of them will be the real thing. And so, this is an interesting thing, Barbie. You weren't even that hopeful with him, but you're sad about the way he ended it. But this is how to be optimistic, Barbie. This is optimistic. Follow me. Go into this with very little hope. Just check the boxes. I'm going on this date. It's a second job. This is my job. You're allowed to go home and cry as soon as you can. But here's the thing. Here's the optimism. Because eventually, I don't even want my first job, right? Eventually, you're going to meet a bunch of putz douche canoes. That's a fact. But eventually, you are going to meet someone who is going to be a great partner. And you don't want to give up. Don't let a douche like Matt. Was his name Matt? No, it was an M. I don't know what his name really was. Mark, Matt, Methuselah. I don't really care. maybe you go to the bathroom, just okay. Maybe you go to the bathroom and you do it, but you're fine, Barbie. You're okay. You're okay. Someone who needs some reading practice, reach out to Barbie Bird and trade some readings. Why don't you? And it's fine, Barbie. So the question really is right this minute, how do you feel better in this moment? Because it legit feels bad. Four of Pentacles reversed. Allow yourself to be nurtured. This is the time where you get a massage or you get a reading. And if you can't afford a reading, there's a lot of good readers in this group who'll take care of you. I'm sure someone in this group will take care of you. Ask for what you need. Yeah, that's exactly it. So reach out to your friends and recognize, like, there is nothing in this picture where you were wrong. And this is where the patriarchy has really fucked us up, because we will automatically feel like we did something wrong here. I didn't earn his love. I didn't earn his attention. I chose badly. Somehow it makes us bad. Somehow it makes us wrong. And so there's an overall healing that isn't just about M or D or anyone. It's something we were all taught and we have to learn from. Right, we're always ready to take responsibility for things that don't belong to us. Exactly. All right, so we've got Ness, Wendy, a few people here, Trey, wanting to connect with Barbie. So go ahead and do that. This is the sort of village we are. And let's support each other. And I will say this too. When I was first coming up as a reader, I did serious readings for free for 8 years before I became a professional. And so, the reading exchange can be a really valuable thing. And Marion says, think of dates as job interviews. Write a job description, and if they don't meet the minimum criteria, don't take it further, right? It's hard to get a real date in the age of everyone being broke and just inviting each other over. Yeah, that's a hard one too, but find like free or cheap dates. Like maybe there's a museum or find the free or cheap dates and be willing to suggest those things. Like there's some strategy you can play with there. Right. All right, and lots of agreement on just that whole dating vulnerability and how hard it is for everybody. All right, who is next? Oh, cool. Okay, here we go. Vaishali, good to see you. We're talking about optimism. So cards on the topic of optimism for you. It's been really hard for you to be optimistic. Like that's a practice that you would really have to force upon yourself, and you should. And I think sometimes people around you have made you feel bad about yourself, and you have taken that as sort of your own sense of self and your own self-image. We don't want to do that. We don't want to do that. So it's super important for you first to be optimistic about yourself and your own life. Okay. Nalini Kalu, it's so good to see you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being a member for more than 2 years. The same with your mom. She has a very negative attitude and tries to control your life with her negativity. Black, we hate that. I'm so sorry. I try my best to not let it affect me, but she constantly tries to bring me down by reminding me she won't live forever. Oh my gosh. 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 Okay, no shade on your particular mother, Nalini, But y'all are going to get my full face for this. Because now, like, I'm a grandmother, so I feel like I can speak with some authority on this topic. And it's almost always mothers. I think fathers do it sometimes, but when a parent does the, well, you know, I'm not going to live forever thing, that is abuse. And it's the worst kind of abuse. I'm going to die someday, you know, like, who says that? And well, a lot of people say it, but it is like, you cannot let that work on you. And I'm speaking to all of us because many of us have had people in our lives. Melissa, I feel you on that. My Italian Catholic mom does the same. Lots of passive aggressiveness and sometimes just aggressive shaming. Oh my gosh. And like, luckily, there's really no one in my family who's like that at this point. But it's a good thing there's not, because my Scorpio self at this point would probably be like, well, good, hurry it up then, bitch. And obviously, you know, I'm saying that as a joke. I'm not advising that you say those things to our, you know, your mothers, but inside, internally, because it really does hurt us and it really does work on us. That's what Wendy says. That guilt is so hard. Nalini says same. She does aggressive shaming as well. And so I wonder if it would help. Don't ever let it come out of your mouth. But would it help? It's a beat down, exactly. Would it help to have that little voice inside your head that's like, well, like, don't do us any favors by waiting on that. If that's going to happen, let's bring it on, you know? Don't say it, but say it inside as a way of lightening the mood and recognizing that this is abuse. It's not intentional abuse. It's probably generational trauma. Their mothers did it to them, whatever, but it's abuse. And recognize it for what it is. They won't be able to recognize that, but you can. All right, I'll go back to doing the actual reading. It's as though she wants me to devote my life to her, and she may well want that, which is a very weird thing for a mom to want. Really, that's a very narcissistic thing for a mom to want, truly. What we're supposed to want for our kids is, you know, what's the thing? We're supposed to give them roots and wings, right? We're going to want them to like fly further than we ever flew and do things we would not have dreamt of doing, but feel like they have some grounding and some security, right? And I think mothers who can't do that really have a serious problem. So what can the cards tell you about this? Right, we want them to live better than us. 8 of Cups, that she emotionally abandoned you a long time ago. And so she can blah, 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 blah. I'm thinking about that Meghan Trainor song. Da, 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 right? My name is No, right? That one. And obviously it's about saying no to guys in a club, but I feel like there's something there, right? Like, you have to recognize the toxicity of this, and how you want to handle it is up to you, but there it is. You pulled a card for yourself this morning, and it was the 8 of Cups. I've been getting that card a lot lately. Yeah. And I think it's about recognizing that she's not there for you at all emotionally, and she's afraid you're going to abandon her, and maybe you need to. Maybe you need to walk away from this in some way. Yes, I agree, Wendy. I love Meghan Trainor, for sure. Okay. All right, here we are. Okay. Caroline McLaughlin, good to see you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being a member for more than 2 years. Thanks for using members-only emojis. Here we go. Regarding your relationship to optimism, I think you're like perfectly balanced, Caroline. I really believe that you are very good at just staying in a state of spiritual acceptance, and being sort of in this state of meditative peace and balance, I think you're better at this than most of us. Do you agree with that? I would love to know what you think about that, but that's what I think. Okay. Julie James, thanks for your kind words about the newsletter. The next question I see is Trey Cameron. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being a member for more than a year. How do I learn to be more optimistic in general? I consider myself to be a bit cynical by nature and realistic in my outlook on life. I think it's okay to be a little cynical because there's a lot of shit out there. And I think you can be cynical and optimistic at the same time. Like, really. Four of Pentacles reversed, Two of Wands reversed. Like, okay, here's the thing. We can be cynical and realistic in my mind is almost one and the same, because I think I am naturally kind of cynical too. And I think what it is, Trey, for you, is it would be really, 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 really good for you to be able to envision a better future for yourself. And I will tell you, like, I used to envision a better future for the planet. I guess I still sort of do, but not as imminently as I once did, you know? Like, it is easy to lose hope about things, but do not lose hope for yourself. So I think for you, Trey, it's really about having hope in your own dreams and visions and allowing for your own magic, allowing for your own creativity and allowing for your own joy. And that even on a very broken planet where nothing is exactly the way we would want it to be, we can still have joy. We can still create beautiful things. We can still connect with people that we care about and have wonderful experiences. That. All right. I keep looking over for like, what's Trey going to say to that? Catherine Fan, it's so good to see you. I feel, oh, that's beautiful. Excellent. Excellent. Thank you. Yeah, it felt good. Felt good to me too. Like I could have been saying that to myself, right? All right. Yeah. There are a lot of great things about the planet. Yeah. Yeah, agreed. So there it is. There it is. Okay. Catherine Fan, I feel like I'm inherently an extreme realist, but my friends say I'm optimistic. What do the cards say? I'm not sure if I'm an optimistic person. I've been wondering this for a while. Well, good that we had this topic today. That's so cool. Are you an optimistic person? Oh, you certainly are. Oh, Caroline, you agree. Good, 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 good. Okay. Catherine, you are absolutely an optimistic person, and here's how and why. You're a tenacious person. If you think that there's some hope that we can make something work, that we can work this out, that, you know, you'll put your energy into it. You're willing to put your energy into things. And that's optimistic. You are willing to nurture and create, and that's optimistic. So, all of that. Okay. Scrolling through. Hey, Nick, good to see you. As someone with chronic depression, this is a tough topic. Well, much like yoga, where the tougher postures, like if a posture is tough for you, then that's probably the one you need to work on. Similar things, perhaps. All right. Oh, my goodness. Liz Harrison, good to see you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being a member for more than a year. My 14-year-old is trying to remain optimistic as she's delayed with her teeth and has required lots of patience and dental work. Being in high school, she feels insecure but tries to stay positive. I understand. Do we stay with our current orthodontist who is great but very slow at the process, or try the new recommended orthodontist that may be quicker? The new orthodontist suggests more dental procedures. Should we pursue that and go with the new orthodontist? Man, that's so hard. And like, okay, here I am. I'm 62. I had braces when I was 14 and 15. And, you know, y'all have noticed I've been not here on Mondays a lot with some dental issues. And some of those may have been exacerbated or created by my braces way back then. So, like, you want to be careful with this. Like, this really matters, not just to get her through high school, but like, she's going to have these teeth hopefully for the rest of her life. And we want her to have the best experience with her teeth. I am not having the best experience with my teeth right now. I mean, it's okay, but Anyway, you've had braces 3 times in your life. Oh my gosh, Ness. So, stay with the old orthodontist, new orthodontist. Man, this is a hard one, Liz. I almost want to say a third option, like I want a third opinion. I really do. I think this is complex and it's time for yet another opinion. I feel like there's questions all around. So maybe talk to somebody else too before you make a decision. And when we look at this in the long run, you will make a good decision that you all are mostly happy with. It will be a great doctor, and you will be very, very happy with the outcome for years to come. But definitely take that long view. And I'm not loving either of these doctors, to be fair. All right. All right. Okay, here we go. Scrolling down. Okay. Oh, Nick, that just made me remember my dream from last night. It was weird. I lost all my teeth. I'm even anxious when I'm unconscious. That is a very specific dream that most people will have. That's an archetypal dream, Nick, about feeling powerless. I think we all have that dream sometimes. Okay. Up next, I see Von Ray. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being a member for more than 3 years. It's hard to have optimism when things around you aren't moving or just feel like it's crumbling. I feel my soul isn't okay with things that I want not happening. How can I make my soul feel content? Just 1 second, Liz. Me neither. Both feel not quite right, and I'm sensitive to my daughter and her situation. Yeah, so keep looking. Sometimes you have to talk to a lot of professionals before you find the right one. Don't be afraid of that. Yeah, well, it's very possible, Nick, to be an optimist and sad at the same time. Yeah, that's absolutely true. And then there's a question of like, what do we do with our sadness? How do we handle our sadness? And can we make space for our sadness and just sort of carry it around like a fishbowl while we're just dealing with the rest of life? Oh, Liz, you also had a tooth loss dream. Isn't that interesting? Yep, that makes sense. Okay. So, Von Ray, here we go. How can I make my soul feel content? And here's the thing. Your soul should not feel content because you're not where you want to be. What you have to be able to do is feel content with the journey, and you're not even content with where you are in the journey. And that's okay. Like, we don't want to gaslight ourselves, you know? So how do you do this? I think you have to lean in to love with yourself. And I know you've been taking yourself out on dates, and I really like that. I think that's great. And I know you've been standing strong and doing what you need to do, even when it's hard. Like, I think you're showing up and doing all the right things. And it's still hard, but you know, I keep saying this like a broken record, and I appreciate you keep coming back and not just hating me. I really do feel like it will all pay off. I really do. And I've seen these kinds of situations before where it just takes forever, but then once it goes, it goes. And I think to answer your question, the reason your soul is not content is you're okay with waiting as long as you know that you're not going to wait forever. It's like that Bob Marley song, I don't want to wait in vain. And it's hard not to think that because you've been waiting for so long. And so it is about having that hope for the future. So how can you have hope for the future? That's really the question. And the answer is perspective, meditation, yoga, creativity, communication, writing, making friends, personal growth, and recognizing how far you have come. And there was a pandemic in there too. Like, I think it's important for us to remember that some of this period of frustration was in the pandemic where not much was moving anyway. So we have to have some grace for that. All right. Where? Marion K. Tarot, it's so good to see you. Fun Ray, you are very welcome. Okay. Oh, Melissa, you are very welcome. Jackie Masters, so good to see you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being a member for more than 3 years. And I am scrolling through. Nick, here we go. Thanks for being a member, Nick. I honestly believe I'm an eternal optimist, but I allow it to get overshadowed by the existential ennui. I just love the fact that you know the word ennui, like existential ennui. That's beautiful. By the existential ennui I feel on the daily, just struggling to reconcile that optimism with the daily reality is a lot. Yeah, I get that. Yeah, you probably should make an appointment with the dentist, Nick. That's for real. So, you know, I have personal advice, and then I'm going to pull a card on it or two. My personal advice is lean into the existential ennui in a like gothic, crazy, funny way, in like an Edgar Gorey kind of a way, like just really get into like, because then you come around to the other side when you can laugh at it. You know, I think lean into you lean into it, not in a real way, but in a funny way. Yes, exactly. Yes, the Gashley Town. Yeah, that. Yeah, right. E is for Eunice, who died of ennui. Right. Right. And if you ever wonder why my kids are right. That's where we all learn that word. Do you know that he created Edward Gorey? Check this out. He created, it was Edward, not Edgar. He created a deck. Y'all, we're off topic now, but we're bringing in optimism through darkness. That's why we're on topic. He created this deck, the Fantod pack, And it is the silliest, funniest deck in the world. The urn, the stones, the blue dog, the tunnel. I mean, it's just so silly. And just to give you a sense, okay, here's the effigy. Okay, here are all the things that this card can mean. August, a sexual problem, assailed honor, unpleasant secrets, amnesia, broken hopes, a misalliance, rashness, clouded mentality, abrasions, an accident in a stadium. Like, how silly is that? It is just so funny. So, like, I think you can use darkness to bring light in a weird way. So, and yes, Ness, my daughter loves his work. I got the deck for her. That is fabulous. So if you wonder why my kids are the way they are, it's that I had the Gashly Crumb Tinies in the kitchen as they're growing up. And if y'all don't know what it is, it's like an alphabet. A is for, B is for, but they're all children's names and how they died. I mean, it's funny, right? But there it is. So now I'll do the reading. That was just my personal advice, Nick. Now I'll do the reading. Yeah, the reading is sort of the same thing. You have to find a way to ground yourself into yourself. You know, like it's about recognizing yourself. And if yourself is dark right now, then ground into that, man, and just become Wednesday Addams. Become whatever that's going to be in this moment and have some fun with it. And lean into your sad girl side. Yeah. Yeah, be a banshee meandering the moors. Absolutely. Absolutely. Have some fun. Listen to sad girl music, whatever. And just enjoy it, you know, because that just kind of brings you around. Okay. Okay, Jackie Masters, thanks for being here. Thanks for being a member for more than 3 years. I've not had a chance to read the newsletter. Could I have a card on the topic? Yes, you can. Topic about optimism and your relationship with optimism is hard. It's hard for you to be optimistic. I think sometimes you doubt yourself and sometimes you doubt others, and yet history would prove that wrong. History would prove that you have every reason to be optimistic because you always manage and you're getting better at doing better than managing. So there's that. There's that. So I think, Jackie, I think you could be more optimistic at yourself by just looking at all the ways in which you are surviving and all the ways in which you are growing. If you could see it, you could really be optimistic in that. Oh, Nick, thank you for not just telling me to snap out of it and be happy. That healed something in me. I get it. I get it. Absolutely. That's a real thing. And I don't think it's self-indulgent, and I don't think it's unhealthy to feel what you feel and allow yourself to feel it. And, maybe we do that with all different kinds of music. Maybe, there's a lot of ways we do it, but you don't live there. But for the period of time you need to do it, do it. Okay. Here we go. I am scrolling through. And you're very welcome, Nick. Right. Right, Wendy. It's good to feel all the feels. Not everything is rainbows and sunshines. Right, right. And even things that don't feel good, if they don't feel good, it's because something matters. Like the worst thing to feel is nothing. That's the most dangerous. Sad is not as bad as nothing. All right, TJ and GA. Were the choices and actions I've taken recently necessary for the direction of my life going forward? I love that question. Let's take a look. I think it felt very necessary, and I think it brought about great change that is scary. And I think that I don't think you had a choice. Like, I don't think these are choices. I think this was the only choice. And it was a really, really hard choice. And it is hard. The whole thing is hard. If it were, it had to have been the right thing because it's so hard. If it were not the right thing, you wouldn't have done it. All right. Okay, Febborn. Oh, Febborn, there you are. There you are. Febborn, thanks for being here. Thanks for being a member. I believe I'm more forgiving than hopeful. What saith thee? I mean, I don't think those two things have to be mutually exclusive, but I do think that you have not really been taught to be hopeful, and sometimes you've been overly forgiving. And so, yes, it is good to be forgiving. Sometimes you are too much so. And Febborn, like, I agree with what you're saying, but I think it would be good to be open to more hope because there's reason for hope. TJ, thank you. I needed that confirmation. I think you nailed it. Yeah, it's really, I feel that pretty strongly. So, yeah. Okay. Scrolling through. Okay, scrolling through. All right, my friends. I got to everybody's question. If I accidentally missed you, I'm so sorry. Please do reiterate your question. If you're here and have not asked, Camille, good to see you. Good to see you. Coming to see you. Cannot wait to see you at StaarCon, Camille Walks with Spirits. Any insight on the topic of optimism? Topic of optimism for Camille. Camille, you are not trained to be optimistic, and you are not trained to trust yourself, even though you are trained to trust the spirits around you. Oh, Michelle, I missed you, and I see you. I will get to you, Michelle. Thank you. So, Camille, when you trust the spirits, you should trust yourself. And when you trust yourself, you should trust the spirits, for it is one and the same. It is one and the same. Oh, Jackie Masters, thanks for that feedback. Okay, Michelle Metheny, sorry I missed you. Thanks for being a member. Is my current platform right for this project I'm working on? I don't love it. If there's another one you're considering, I think it would be right to evaluate it. Penny for your thoughts. Am I positive enough? Let's take a look. Yeah, I mean, I think you're doing your best to respond emotionally and logically to some difficult times, and I think you're trying to stay as logical as possible, and that's appropriate. Let your logic be infused with positivity. Rebecca, good to see you. My father recently re-entered my life yet again. He is 78, and I'm trying to be consciously optimistic, even if I have to be the more mature person here. Can you give me a card on how this may go? Yeah, I want to talk about this further than that, if that's okay with you. Thanks for being here. Because the question is consciously optimistic for what? What are we hoping for? I think it's going to be so important to manage expectations here. So with that in mind, how will it go? Right, cautiously, exactly. Because the thing is, I don't think he's grown. I don't think he's changed much. And I think that you are a very smart, communicative person. And despite him, right, but optimistic for what? That's really the question. That's what we're trying to figure out. What should we be realistically optimistic for here? Because look at you and look at him. Now, first of all, the fact that you emanated from him is a miracle, because you are a good communicator. You crave communication. You build relationships with people. And I think more than anything, before he leaves this earth, you want to have 2, maybe 3 things happen. You would like some acknowledgement of regret for some things that he could have done differently. You would like some sense that he is present and supportive of you. I think that's it. I think you recognize you're not going to have a normal relationship with him ever. But do we think that you'll get those things? No, I don't. What should you be optimistic for? Be optimistic that you may have a chance to see and or talk to your father again while he's still alive. Be optimistic that you can figure out what you want to get out of this. I think maybe the best thing to get out of this would be to hear his stories. To ask him, ask him about his youth. Ask him about what he did when he was 8 years old. Ask him things that are true about you that you've wondered about. Maybe that's in him too. Ask him questions, get him to talk about himself. I don't think he's capable of owning his shit. And I think as soon as you try to do that, we're done. But you have a chance to hear his stories. And that could be a win. So be clear about that and your goals. And there you are. Rebecca, you are very welcome. Thank you so much. All right. Anyone else? It is last call for readings, y'all. I really appreciate all of you. As you can see, I've got the links up already for tomorrow, Saturday. I'll be back at noon tomorrow with your Friday weekly wrap-up. Please join me then. StaarCon is coming. There is a link in the description. Find out about it. You can join us in person, online. Ticket prices range from $10 to $500. There's a ticket there for you. Find out about it. Subscribe to the newsletter and book an appointment with me. And I'll see you tomorrow. I appreciate all of you. Thank you so very much.